Hello, welcome to another episode of the Mobility Bros. I'm your host, Ron Hilton, and my co-host, Clif Joseph, couldn't be with us today. So I am on here solo and single and handsome. And we have our guest, Jane Frey. And today we always talk about athletic mindset, mobility, pain reduction, the thought processes of practitioners and patients, and the mindset of clients and members. Today, we're going to focus mostly on the thought process and modality of practitioner. And we have this amazing guest on today, Jane Frey. She's a Reiki Master. I'm going to read her bio to you guys. It's short and sweet, and it's going to give you a really good just an overview of what her background is and what it's about. And then just going to ask them questions and just get it rocking. So Jane, growing up in a small rural community, blissfully at one with nature, enveloped in her own personal realm of discovery and wonder, Jane Frey had no conscious awareness that other people didn't perceive themselves and their world on a deeper, essentially tangible, energetic level like she did. Following a fascination with medicine into a career of clinical pharmacy, Jane excelled, but with her colleague, a Reiki Master, introduced her to energy healing modality. Everything changed. Thrilled to assimilate her own training in record time, the euphoric Jane was reunited with her true calling. She immediately found that she could sense energy on an almost palpable level, and she could shift it easily, moved and around and enhance her clients' healing. And through Jane's felt like a relative newcomer, experienced energy worker, immediately realized how advanced she was in her field. This exceptional evolutionary energistic went on not only mastered assessing and influencing the existing energy system of the body, mind, and the spirit, but she discovered an undocumented paradigm energy system on her own. Her energy innovation, crystal consciousness, ultimately won an advanced theory award when presented at a prestigious international conference, which is awesome. Now, Jane complements her ongoing hospital pharmacy career with a wealth of innovative educational courses and personal programs. Her life work is now guiding us to let go of all the self-doubt, outdated programming, and conditional thought processes that hold us back from our aligned freedom and the high vibration ability to manifest whatever we choose. Albert Einstein said, "Matter is energy. Energy is light. We are all light begins. I said it right. Okay. And tap into the light of your being where all your power lies. Join Jane Frey in the Wonder Zone. So welcome to Mobility Bros. How are you doing and how are you feeling today?
Great. I'm glad to be here today. Good
Awesome.
morning.
Good morning. Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. So really like your bio. I felt like my tongue was twisted when I was reading it, but it's awesome. I like your background, and it's a pleasure to connect and meet with you. I know we met some time back and we always stayed in touch. And when I started this podcast, definitely, and we ended up catching up, definitely wanted you on the show. Mm-hmm. You have a fascinating background. So definitely want to just start out with the first question. You're an energy worker that started out in clinical pharmacy. What drew you to the field of pharmacy and medicine? What was that about?
Well, that started early on, and really just fascinated with the physiology of the body. And what fascinated me about medicine was how the tiniest, most minute dose of a medication could actually influence the body and have this profound effect. And so even in high school, I was doing reports on medications and different things like that. So it kind of naturally followed. And then also this just an interest in science and chemistry and also physics, although in pharmacy, it's not so physics based, but just the way that science is so perfect in a way, like everything has a flow and an answer to it. And it's very linear and it's predictable. And yet there's a wisdom there that is within it. So we really understand what has been documented and explained scientifically, but there's a whole body of wisdom that is yet to be either explained or, you know, quote unquote discovered, but it's already there. It's this underlying wisdom of the universe.
That's awesome. I love your, your thought process about that, thinking, knowing that, that there's a whole nother other line of thing there, and the science is there, but there's some other things that are out there that can actually help people outside of just medicine. And me being a sports massage therapist, I've always believed that, there are other holistic ways of helping people to, inside and out to help them, get them going and get them moving and get them feeling better. I know in your bio, you said that you had a colleague who was a Reiki Master and introduced you to energy healing modality. Now, can you share with us what was your first experience like when that was presented to you, and share with us, with the audience, what that was like?
At the beginning, I was a little bit nervous about studying energy and energy techniques. And I think lots of people feel that way. It's such an unknown or ununderstood method of healing. And during that first class, it was just obvious to me that this was something I already was completely doing. And I think a lot of people discover that when they start learning about energy. There's a familiarity because our body already knows so much of this information. One of the interesting things that happened was every single plant in my house bloomed that weekend.
Oh, wow.
And I had plant that I'd had for many years, and I did not even know it was a flowering plant, and even it had flowers on it. So it was this tangible, awareness of something was happening, something was really shifting, and there was no explanation for it. It was just this great synchronicity that everyone in the house was saying, like, wow, what's happening here? So it was a really big shift that I was aware of, and that was actually visible in, the materialization of my plant activity over that weekend.
That's awesome. And was that the energy? So was it energy that you was putting out into the universe from you, or was it something you were you doing some energy work with your plant life in your home?
I was not doing energy work with my plant life in my home.
Okay.
So as I look back on that experience, which was just puzzling at the time, I think it was that movement into alignment. When we come into that energetic alignment, there's this expansion of energy, and the whole universe supports that alignment. Our bodies are self-healing at the core. And if we can get underneath all the layers of distraction that are there and the paradigms that aren't serving us anymore, and move into this higher vibration of alignment where we're really connected to that inner being of who we are, that big expansion has a really big ripple effect. And we see that in our world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know we did. When I first met you, we did a Reiki session, if I'm correct. And it was a completely different experience from the one I did prior to, and I share that with you.
Yes.
The one that I really liked, you were very, personable. You were, I saw you, I felt relaxed. I felt I felt that energy flow between us. But the other one was kind of, I'm not going to explain what my last experience was. It's kind of strange. Involved a stuffed animal, but but I do appreciate that. I humbly do appreciate the work that you do. Um, you are a Reiki practitioner. Can you tell us and explain, like, what is Reiki? What is it? Like, what does it actually involve?
Reiki is working with subtle energies, and in my own training, Reiki was my kind of entry into the world of energy, but I had other modalities that I have learned in addition to that. Energy medicine in particular, that looks at Reiki in a more analytical way.
Mm-hmm.
And Reiki itself is working with this subtle energy, and it has a wisdom. It's its recognition of the wisdom of that energy. And scientifically, when we look at physical, all physical matter, and our bodies included,
Mm-hmm.
and we've learned in science and even through school about the structure of molecules and these little, tiny electrons and protons and everything. Like, there is not a lot of physical matter there. It's just all energy. And then there's this little bit of matter. Well, our bodies are like that. So really, we're nearly all energy and this very little bit of physical matter, but it is highly organized and it is very intelligent. So all of our different body systems have their own energy, and they're all working together. And when there's an alignment and everything is on the same program, I guess you could say, of
Right.
wellness, they're all working together optimally. So that's the goal that we want to have. So I have this understanding of energy that's come through years of training, and then the other work that I have done with either modalities or the paradigm energy and the other systems that I work with, that
Mm-hmm.
helps me explain to people as we're working energetically what that process is about for them. And I think that's why you felt more comfortable about it and felt like you could follow along. So that's one of the things that I like to do when I'm working with people, is provide them with some self-care techniques and some education about energy, because we are never taught as children to look after our energy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is really a missing piece of healthcare to have that energetic self-care, because it actually supports our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. It's really a very, very fundamental, kind of the primary place to be working to increase our health.
I agree. I worked. I've been in martial arts for over 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
and the one thing that I learned, one of the very first thing I learned as a child was to meditate. I thought, like getting into yourself and just focusing on your energy and your mindset. To be honest with you, I didn't understand that at 8, 9 years old.
Right.
But the sensei said this is what you got to do for 5 minutes. You did it for 5 minutes. But as I got older, it became clear to me that this is a way to give myself, bring myself back to center, really draw my energy back and really focus on me, staying in that breath, dropping my shoulders, being conscious of, what your surroundings and just really sinking into what, into you as a person. So, I completely get that. Um, are there different modalities of energy?
There's many different modalities, and Reiki, of course, is one of them, and it's really fundamental to many of the other ones. The energy medicine model is around looking at how the body responds to energy and looking at the different energy vibrations and energy systems and seeing how they affect the body. And then we also have sound healing, which is a frequency-based technique. And color healing is another modality which uses the vibration of color.
Never heard of that.
And yeah, so sound, all of these different things, they can really be based on any of our sensory systems. And people all have a different way of relating to energy. So I'll talk to people and they're like, oh, I don't know anything about that. You know, I'm not aware of it. And it's because they just haven't connected to how they perceive it. You know, so some people are auditory, and so they hear messages, or they can hear kind of other things that are happening in the universe that the rest of us are not hearing. Others are very visual, so they can see auras and they can see the energy. And some people don't sense energy that way, but others maybe sense it through touch. And that's a large part of what I do, is that sensory feeling through touch. So it's a very, you know, it has a very real feeling to me. So helping people understand how they personally perceive energy and how they understand their own energy really is the key, so that they can keep themselves in that optimal energetic alignment.
That's awesome. I like how you know, you talk about like how people respond different to different types of energy.
Yeah.
Never heard of the color or really necessarily auditory. My experience with energy work has always been either someone actually doing, you know, going like basically running through the chakras, or you know, or maybe doing some little bit of crystal work. But like the different types of that you've explained, I never heard. So, and I like that, you know, and it's true, people respond to different things. You know, people are very visual, very audible. People will respond well to either touch or they don't, whatever the case may be. So, you know, it's good that, you know, it's cool to understand that there's different forms that people can try or experience. I think that's pretty cool. Is energy and vibration very similar?
Yes, they are. Well, energy, there's energy kind of encapsulates everything. It's like a generic term that embodies the whole of it. But vibration is kind of the scale that carries it carries a resonance, you know, so different emotions will have a different vibration. And so some of the modalities talk about being in a love energy, love and above. Those are higher energies. Lower energies are things like fear and anger and, you know, kind of the lower energies. Like even as I'm describing them, can you feel in your body how it just pulls it down, right? But if we talk about love and above, it has a lightness to it. It's expansive. And we actually feel that in our bodies. And then frequency is related to vibration, but it's more like the rate by which that vibration is moving. So it's like a really slow, deep wave that is like a drum beat. You know, it's kind of that primal energy, or it can be quite rapid. And that holds that bandwidth in more consistency. So it doesn't have the noticeable highs and lows as the energy moves. It just has a constant, lovely, wider bandwidth. And as we work with energy, that bandwidth increases. So then we're able to have a greater understanding of things and not feel so kind of triggered or anxious about things that are happening, because we can be in that calm state. We have a wider space to keep our own energy wellness intact.
Wow, that's awesome. I've never heard anyone break that down like that. I always wondered that as far as like, the difference of energy and
Yeah.
vibration. So then that's cool. I have one of my old school martial art instructors. He was actually my very first martial instructor. I keep in touch with him. We since I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been studying like energy and vibration, and um, and he's always asking me about it. I'm like, well, I really don't know. No,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
don't know. I said, I said I'm such a, I'm a very manual, like I'm like very manual therapist. So it's just, and he's curious because he's retired and now he's doing all this research on different things about the body.
Yeah.
And and he's just like his man's almost 70, but he's still like his curiosity is starting to peak on these all these things.
Yeah.
So I think it's really pretty awesome. Um, what are some of the responses and feedback you typically get from a client in a session after after you do your work?
There's lots of different responses. In general, people feel much calmer and much more peaceful. That anxiety level is gone. I've had dramatic changes in their level of pain, for example, might be much, much better and way down from what it was at the beginning. Um, Mostly they talk about this feeling of coming to know themselves again, starting to feel like themselves. So people will say, oh, I haven't felt like myself in years, right? They've had years of stress and ongoing things that are pulling their energy away and pulling their focus away, always on other things that are going on around them. But when we can bring that energy back, it's quite transformational for people to experience that knowing of themselves again and to be able to reconnect to that part of themselves. For some people, it's been many years since they've experienced that feeling of self-acceptance and understanding of who they really are. It's kind of a core essence of being, so time and space and everything kind of falls away when you're in this place. It's just kind of sublime and quiet and still, and you're just there with that essence of who you are. So it's really a wonderful place to be. And this is what I call the wonder zone, to be in this
Okay.
experience of
Okay.
knowing yourself in this way, in this still place
Yeah.
that is so peaceful, is really a wonder zone. And when you can start living your life from that place, it's a dramatic change for a lot of my clients.
That's awesome. We live in this world where we live in an uptight world, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree? Like,
Mm-hmm.
people
Yes,
walk around like this all day,
absolutely.
like Frankenstein, like,
Yeah.
or a zombie. I'm
And
like, just so
people are on guard, right? They're
yes,
on
they are.
guard for the next news item, the next crisis, whatever's happening. And yeah, and so a lot of our world is living in just a direct reaction to all of that, instead of being in this stillness of, you know, seeing what can be done to move forward, right? To make
Right.
good choices, to make good decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every morning I always listen to first thing I always get good brainwave stuff going in my brain. So I was listening to Steve Harvey this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and and he talked about when you wake up first thing in the morning and you start saying things like, "Oh man, I can't, my job sucks. I gotta go work. You start putting all that negative energy into your brain. As soon as your feet hit the floor, that's how you're gonna walk around all day, right? And he spoke of like, one of the best things just to start out just for yourself, just start out with just giving yourself some, feed your mind with just gratitude. What are you grateful
Oh,
for?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And just put that energy in. And then sometimes, the world is, the world can be toxic, you know, especially if you're listening to the news or whatever the case may be, all that stuff just starts doing this to you. And like you said, we're closed off. We're in this hyper alert. You know, we're ready to, you know, like this, you know, kung fu somebody. You know, and it takes people just like you and like me just to really just to say, hey, you know, it doesn't have to be like that. You know, we can help you relax, help you, you know, and give people homework when they go home. This is what you have to do from when you next time you see me. So that's awesome. You know, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that piece around like when you get up in the morning, those first thoughts that you have, and that we're in this creation energy all the time.
Mm.
And so when we have that moment of stillness, and the morning is such a great time to have that, because you've come out of that peaceful sleep and you're getting ready for that day that is like, it's a brand new early day, right? You get to have a new beginning every day. If you can start your day with that appreciation of that feeling that you really are this precious being, that you are this significant being, and that is the foundation of what your day is going to look like, it makes such a huge difference. So mindset and all of those pieces are going to be strengthened by that energy that's already in place as a foundation for that. Makes it much easier to be in that state of gratitude and really looking at your life, even with the challenges and obstacles that we have. It's all part of this journey of this lifetime that we have, but that lifetime is really a sacred gift, and having the ability to appreciate it in that way is really a profound experience to have in your life.
I do agree. I do agree. And I mean, we're all precious beings, right? You know, we're all here to, you know, and I think that one of the things that we lack, that a lot of people lack, is that we don't give enough value and love to ourselves. And if we don't do that, we can't put that beautiful energy back out into the world, you know, and give that back to others. So
and our world will change if we see more of that being projected out into the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was listening to an interview with Tony Robbins, and one of the at the end of the interview, if he said, if you had to change one thing in the world and make it and just make a blanket and universal, what would it be? And he said, love.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, you know, he just said that one word. I just felt like he just did a mic drop, you know, like, oh my God, he just, you know, love is you know, that power of energy, right? You know, it's just love, just make it across the board. Everyone loves everybody, you know. So
and it's simple, right? It isn't complex. It is that simple.
It is that simple. It really is.
Yeah.
And our last question I want to ask, now, where do you see yourself in the future with your practice and your business?
Well, it's really become powerful in my awareness that this radiant part of ourselves, that is that alignment, we have this star-like quality. Our energy is radiant, and so it's like beaming out. And we can have that in our lives personally, and in our families and in our relationships. When we start to shine that through our business, though, and recognize that our business actually is an expression of that radiant part of us. It is an expression of our true calling and of the things that matter the most to us. We actually operate in our businesses in a different way, and our businesses will carry that energy as well. So it can be so universally applied to every individual business or even to collective systems, to have that kind of radiant quality of their truest values and the things that they want to accomplish. So one of the things that I like to do, of course, working one-on-one is absolutely the best experience for anyone to have. but even this awareness of being able to generate this gratitude and love energy, and the ability to focus on those qualities that you want to exemplify in your personal life, let those shine through your business. So I see the movement in my own business and in working with energy is one of education for people that are not aware of energy, how they can engage with it, giving them some training maybe so they can engage more actively with energy and have better self-care and better health and more vitality, so that life is richer for them and for the people around them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Wonder Zone is an experience I think that we really all can experience. And that's an important quality for me.
That's awesome. I love it. You summed it up with the Wonder Zone. We should trademark that, the Wonder Zone. I love it.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions, just put it in the show notes. And how would people actually, if someone wanted to actually reach out to you, how would they get a hold of you? I'm gonna put your information in our show notes, but if someone wanted to get a hold of you, what would be the best way?
Yeah. Well, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook. So those are ways that you can reach out to me. You can email me at wellness.ewc@gmail.com. That's for my Energy Wellness Center business. And yeah, I'm happy to meet with people. I do self-care programs for organizations and presentations, and I'm willing to work with people and communicate if there's ways to collaborate and work together just to increase that awareness.
Awesome. So I appreciate you for being on our show, Mobility
Thank you.
Bros. It was
Yeah.
a pleasure and an honor to have you. And please reach out to her. This is an amazing woman. She's out in Canada. Y'all. We connect around the world. So
Yeah, the world is a small place.
the world's a small place. So I want you to stay awesome, keep stepping into greatness, and be legendary. Have the most amazing day, and take care for now.